the person that is cited as being the father of colonics and juice fasting in the way that you're doing it here is Bo Jensen. He was an amazing man. There's so many models of understanding the human being are attributed to him. I'll talk about him a lot during the week. And the colonic board, a basic system for the colonic board that we're using this week, is his design. I've changed it only in that I've added this soft catheter. He uses a hard tip, which is a perspex material, or a metal one, which is very tough, and I found very uncomfortable when I was using his system. And it's also possible to damage yourself with that. So I've changed it for this very soft material, which means that you can do it yourself. Basically, it's very, very simple, very gentle. It will just fold up. You can put the whole thing inside you, and it will just fold up. You can't puncture the bowel wall. There's no danger in any of it. And it forms the final part of that non-biological pump that I was talking about earlier. That your blood is being cleaned by your liver is piling this material out through the bile into the small intestines. The small intestines are pumping it down into the colon, and the colon is going to empty itself anyway. But the faster you can get that emptying to happen, the less material comes back into the bowel, comes back into the blood from the bowel, and the more material therefore will be leaving you. You're doing less recycling. And colonics are the best way of doing that. It works by resting horizontally with this end over the toilet and that end on the stool. The stool is just to take the weight, and the toilet this end will collect anything that comes out of you into the colonic system. You have a bucket of water about 4 feet above you that's filled with body temperature water, and a hose that brings that water down and plugs into the back of the catheter. Now the catheter goes about halfway through the shield. Amelia and I will come and show you this in all of your bathrooms anyway, so this is just to show you how it looks. You sit on the board and shuffle down, so that the backs of your legs form a seal against the shield. And in doing so, anything that comes out of you can't go anywhere else. So that's something to watch for, that you've got that seal against your backside. In order to put the catheter into you, the tendency is to put your hand between your legs in order to reach. But that doesn't really work very well. Mostly because you still can't see what you're doing, but you're using your abdominal muscles in order to reach. And in doing so, you're closing the whole pelvic floor. You're making it much more difficult to put the catheter into you. The best way to do it is to rest your upper body back on the board, lift one butt up and go around that way. You've got just as much access, but everything remains relaxed. The catheter only needs to go into you about 3 inches, about the length of your thumb. But because you're laying on the board in that fashion, and your fingers will be a little bit oily from the lubricant that we'll give you, you won't be able to tell whether your fingers are actually feeding it into you or whether your fingers are just slipping over the catheter. The thing to know, the thing to grasp is that when you have a straight line between the board and you, then the catheter will stay inside you. If you're putting it into it and you can still feel there's a big curve there, as soon as the water leaves you, it will push the catheter out. Having that straight line is the key to the catheter staying inside you. Once you've set that up, you're plugged in and ready to go. There's a clip on the hose that brings the water down to you, and that clip you just lift off. The water begins to flow. Because it's only flowing from 4 feet above you, it's very gentle. Again, it's not a major gush, it's a very gentle inflation. But because you're already full of material, now you're going to reach that point at which you would normally go to the loo very quickly, because suddenly water is starting to add to the pressure that's already in there. And so you do whatever you normally do, but you don't change position, you don't take the catheter out, you don't turn the water on. You just push the water out in the way that you would normally will. And you have to push the water out because you're in a very strange situation. You've probably never done this laying down before. All of our years of potty training and all the social stigma that we do around toilets tells us that it only happens in this situation. But we need to get past that. And if we just left your body to fill up, your own subconscious inhibitions around this subject would stop anything from happening. And so you actively have to push this material out. And once you've pushed it out, because you haven't taken the catheter out, you haven't turned the water off, and you haven't changed position, the water's still flowing. Don't ask me how the catheter doesn't come out as well, I don't know. But 15 years of doing this tells me that it doesn't. You can relax, it's just going to happen. And so you start filling up again. And you fill a bit, it takes a bit longer to fill this time, because you've created space. Because as the water leaves you, material will leave you as well. And so each time you do that, each time you push the water out and then relax again, it takes a bit longer for you to get to that point at which you feel full. But then when you feel full, you push it out again. And so you get this kind of filling, flushing process. And that's what really works for the bowel. And after about 10 times of deliberately pushing the water out, suddenly something shifts. Because you're rewiring yourself in your relationship to your bowel. Suddenly your bowel gets, okay, I'm allowed to do this laying down. And so then it does it, and the whole thing takes off. Because you are no longer involved in the process. Your bowel will fill and eliminate, fill and eliminate. And at that point it becomes a completely different experience, because you're not really involved. And you can, at that point, if you want to, put your iPod on and completely check out from the process and let the body do it. You can do that. The body will do it. But there's something else that happens if you keep your attention there. If you watch and feel what is going on. Your intestines, your whole digestive system is an entirely separate organ from you. Entirely separate being from you. For example, all the way through the entire digestive system is a layer of neural cortex. It contains neurotransmitters and synapses and neurons. It's a whole other brain. It's actually the first brain that evolved. All the way through your digestive system. It's a wonderfully bizarre biological phenomenon. And it has a whole different experience. It has a whole different opinion of what's going on. And if you plug into that, you'll feel that it actually holds most of your emotional bases. And because you are now inflating it with water, and bringing those things to the surface, all of the emotional suppression that we do can be unravelled. And there's every opportunity for that colonic process to be a very emotional mode. Most people don't notice it because we're so closed down emotionally. But for some people, it's very, very emotional. You'll come off the board in hysterics, or feeling very sad, or feeling very angry, or feeling fantastically good. Inexplicable emotions for having just done a colonic. But because you're in there on your own, there's no one inhibiting you, it's an opportunity to go in there and feel what's there. It's just an opportunity, it's just an invitation. It's a very, there's many, many layers of healing available to it. Or you can stick your iPod on and ignore the whole process, and it will happen anyway. But if you want to be involved, if you want to get the most out of this week, then go as deep as you can allow yourself to go. That's what's on there. That's the door that you've bought yourself this week.